Our next session will be the Candidate Forum. At this time, please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the PGA of America from Indian Wells, California, Mr. Paul Libby.
I got to lower this a little. Dawes is a little taller than me. Thank you, Dawes. Well, having run for office twice, I can tell you it's a huge commitment what these gentlemen are doing for our association, and as they go through this process, it's something that really takes a good year from the start of wanting to become a candidate and through our spring meetings and being here today. So I want to personally thank all three of you. I've served with all three of you, Rick, Jim, and Russ. And I know whichever one of you wins, I look forward to working with you. Whoever wins, I know will be a great secretary for our association. So please give them a round of applause for just participating. First of all, to give you a formal introduction, from the North Florida section to my left, PGA member Russ Libby. From the Carolinas section, PGA member Rick Murphy. And from the Wisconsin section, PGA member Jim Richerson. During the candidate forum, I will ask a question of candidate number 1, who will have 2 minutes to reply, and then candidate number 2 will be given 2 minutes, and candidate number 3 will be given 2 minutes. And we'll also give each of the candidates a 10-second call. Tom Brawley will be keeping the time for us, and so I will, at 10 seconds, I will give you a 10-second reminder, and that will be how we rotate throughout the session, taking turns as to who goes first. So, with that, we'll begin with Russ Libby. Russ, in regard to employment, what do you believe is the biggest threat facing PGA members, and how can the association address this issue?
Well, Paul, thanks for that. And there's no doubt in my mind that the #1 threat to employment for our PGA professionals is the economy. You all in this room are living it and breathing it day in and day out. And really, for the better part of the last decade, we've all been struggling to get through some of the pressures that the economy and the challenges that it faces or is putting forth for our PGA members. And so what do? Do we sit back and be idle, or do we tackle it head on? And I'm really glad that this question was asked, because it really aligns itself very strongly with my platform for creating growth and opportunity for our members and our sections in the game. And I have a very specific plan for growing employment in our sections. And first things first, we have to build a better mechanism on the section level. And the first thing we have to do is ask some questions. We have to ask some questions of our executive directors, of our section boards, our section leaders, and our PGA members out there on the front lines. It's very important. We need to share best practices. There are some sections around the country that are performing well in the employment arena. We need to listen to their ideas and to share them, and that's going to help us. You may or may not know, I'm a member of the NGCOA and the CMAA, as well as the PGA. I believe we need to have a task force to sit down, PGA professionals, joint members, with those allied associations and understand exactly where we're going together so that we can tackle this problem together. The other thing is this, employment consultants. We need to grow the ranks of our employment consultants. They are doing a tremendous job, but they are overburdened at this point. My plan is to have 15 new employment consultants in the next 5 years. Tie that in with a turnkey employment model at the section level. I believe our best days are ahead of us, and I'm very bullish on the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Russ. Rick? And I will ask this, if we would hold our applause, because I know that we're going to go through about 12 or 14 questions. So you're welcome to clap if you want to, but just, we do have a full list of questions that will take us through the 40 minutes. So Rick, at this time?
Yeah, thanks. First, I want to say hello, and it's great to be out here in Las Vegas. Yesterday, I spent the morning over at Cascada, and what a great facility that was, and what a great place for our members to be able to hold a Pro championship. Always looking for rattlesnakes, though. So this answer, I think there are 3 pieces to this. We have 3 threats, at least, in our association. The first being participation in the game of golf. what the levels are, what they've decreased to over the last few years. Secondly, I think there's an immediate need for our association to focus on what will make our members more relevant and valuable to our employers in the future. Thirdly, a threat is the fact that the world is changing quickly, and the consumer data and digital relationship is changing the way our industry works. You need to look only at the Golf Channel and Golf Now and the impact they've had in grabbing the database and grabbing our customers. With respect to participation, growing participation in the game begins to answer many of our issues with employment. More players equals more jobs. Looking back into the history of the game, we've seen times where participation has spiked during the Bobby Jones era, during Arnold Palmer's years, and then with the onset of Tiger Woods coming out to the forefront in the game. So we have no control over that. We continue to blame the negative impact of housing, the housing market collapse. With the growth in the housing market, many courses were built as an amenity to sell homes. However, as in the case with many metropolitan areas, during this housing growth, the number of golfers
10 seconds, Rick.
increased substantially with the addition of more courses, but instead the number of golfers in these areas was spread thin across the region. This made clubs and courses less profitable than expected, in addition to the overbuilt supply. We can't control the economy.
Rick, we need to go to the next candidate. Okay? Jim?
Thank you, Paul. I think the most immediate threat that we have is the U.S. Department of Labor and the new wage and overtime laws, raising the those that are going to be thought of as being management positions, where their salaries will be raised to a minimum of $47,476 a year. For those that are seasonal properties, this equates to $913 that you have to pay assistants per week. According to the PGA of America's research department, 34% of our active PGA members and 84% of those that are apprentices currently fall below this pay scale. This is going to dramatically affect how your staffs are going to be aligned, how you're going to have to put your staffing models together, and how are you going to take care of your guests and your members. It shocks me that when I talk to PGA members during the campaign, many of them are not even aware that this is going to take place on December 1st of this year. Many aren't aware of how this is going to affect their properties and their operations, and they don't have the answers when they're talking with their ownership groups or their membership groups about how this is going to affect them moving forward. I think we've done a disservice to PGA members around the country by not making sure that they have all this information and that they are the leaders and they are the ones that have more information than their ownership and their membership groups have. Luckily, we have a U.S. Senator in Oregon, a Democrat by the name of Kurt Schrader, who's proposing a bill that actually would only raise it to $35,000 next year and graduate it up. So smaller businesses and golf operations in particular have an opportunity to really figure out how they're going to do their business moving forward. I think this dramatically changes how we're going to be able to recruit young men and women into our profession, because either they're going to have to fall below 40 hours a week getting paid hourly, or they're going to go to a position that we're going to have to bump all the salaries up to
10 seconds,
$47,000. I'm all for paying PGA members more. We need to strive to do that. But under the current conditions, it's going to be very difficult for PGA members to handle this situation throughout the country. Thank you.
Question number 2, we'll start with Rick. As you evaluate the PGA's education programs, what do you see as the most immediate opportunity that needs to be addressed in the effort to elevate the standards of the profession?
Thanks, Paul. I want to preface this by saying we have a significant level of education that's available to our PGA members today. We need to do a better job of communicating that. Our apprentice program, the educational process they go through is much improved from past years. Our PGA Golf Management Universities, the kids are coming out, men and women, as PGA members with substantial education, much better than it was years before. So I think we have a lot of positives in our association. With the CPP program, our Certified Professional program, I have participated in that, and I would like to see us build that out to where it equates itself much like a master's program or a master's degree in a university. And it should take much more time to become certified so that you have a thorough understanding of one of the segments of our CPP program. That being said, our new business simulation opportunity for our members to take advantage of is quite good. It gives you real-time experience where you sit there with a group of PGA members face-to-face or online making business decisions and then getting the result of that decision that you've made instantly. So I think this is going to be a good process for our members to go through. Our employers should be educated as to what many of our PGA members are qualified to do. Our employment consultants can make great headway in this area. They can also be a large part of the education of our PGA members as to what employers are expecting from us. With the fast-growing segment of our PGA membership and teaching and coaching, I definitely would like to see us build out that segment. We are on the front lines as teachers, as many of you are. 87% of our golf professionals are grassroots members, I would call. They're out teaching and growing the game every day.
10 seconds, Rick.
I think the teaching and coaching segment of our education needs to be built out thoroughly. We should take advantage of that at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Jim?
Thank you. I've talked about this subject quite a bit throughout the campaign. Because of the facilities that I'm at in Wisconsin, we participate with a lot of the PGM University programs. And I'm very fortunate to be able to employ 8 to 10 interns a year. What I consistently see on the ones that we have that join us is none of them get instruction on how to teach. We ask individuals about ball flight laws, and they look at us with a stare in their eyes because they don't know what we're talking about. If we're going to truly grow the game on a consistent basis, every PGA member and apprentice has to be able to teach the game and improve somebody's skill set. When individuals' games improve, they have more fun. And when you have more fun, you play more golf. On the member side, I'm a big proponent that our CPP program is not accomplishing what it set out to do. It's not increasing the compensation levels of PGA members throughout the country. PGA members better jobs. This program doesn't resonate with the industry. We have other organizations like Club Managers Association and the Golf Superintendents Association where they have a certification that actually is resonating, helping them drive some of their compensation bases. The CPP program and our MSR programs give you a lot of knowledge. You can increase areas that you may not be an expert on, but it's not a program that's currently resonating with owners and members in the industry that's driving compensation. I think we need to reevaluate, revamp, and relook at that program. We need to work with owners and those that are looking for the experts and are willing to pay for it. We need to make sure we provide those skill sets then to PGA members so it can truly grow their compensation base and get them better jobs. Until we do that, I think we're not helping support PGA members throughout the country. So those would be my two focus on education, both with the apprentices
10
and
seconds,
with PGA
Jim.
members. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Russ.
Thanks, Paul. A little less than a year ago, I was honored to receive the Horton Smith Award nationally, and as you might expect, that was a very prideful thing for me. And not to be boastful about it, but I think it underscores how strongly I feel, how passionately I feel about education, lifelong education, training, and the enhancement of the skills for our PGA members. So the opportunity, or maybe the challenge, is trying to create buy-in. Trying to create buy-in from our PGA members and apprentices across the country to understand that by raising their game, by enhancing their skills, they're going to create more value to their employers, they're going to create upward mobility in their careers, and ultimately they will create wage growth for themselves. So it's really important, and this starts with outreach and connectivity. And this is something we've heard a lot about. I want to share a little success story from North Florida PGA. And it started with a program that we developed in the Northern Chapter, which really was titled Jumpstart Your Career Days. The first thing we did, and you're going to hear this common thread with me, is we asked some questions. All right, we asked questions of our members what they needed to be more successful in their jobs and happier in their lives. And it took a lot of hard work by me and our committee to get those answers. As you might expect, the survey came back with 25%. We had to dig deep. We made phone calls. We reached out. We got 87% completion rate. And that information allowed us to create dynamic programming, excellent curriculums. We brought award-winning speakers from all around the country, from PGA headquarters, to speak and really help them to learn and grow, and it inspired them. MSR credits were achieved at an astounding rate, one of the highest in the country for our section.
10 seconds, Russ.
And we really moved the needle. At the end of the day, certification is a very important thing, and we have to work hard to understand the demographics of our members is 49 years old. We may need to change the way that we deliver certification, similar to the business school days that we had in the past.
Russ, we need to go to the next candidate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, question number 3. Jim Richerson, you're up. How has your experience best positioned you for success as a national officer?
Well, I think I've had experience on both the section and the national level that really can bring some traits and some experience to the national office that can help PGA members throughout the country. I've had very in-depth, hands-on working relationship in our largest tournaments and championships, having hosted 2 PGA championships and an upcoming Ryder Cup. This is important because the revenues that are generated from those large assets drive the monies that come down to the section level to help PGA members throughout the country. When ADP funding was increased a couple years ago, that was because of the increase in TV revenues and the expenses and the revenue that's generated from the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup. I've got that working knowledge to be able to continue to enhance and grow those important assets so we can continue to drive those benefits down to the sections and the PGA members. I've had experience on the national level, having just completed a term on the National Board of Directors. I'm currently still on 3 national committees, both on the golf side, being the chair of the Golf Properties Committee, so golf operations, and on the business side, being on the Budget Committee and the National Investment Committee, handling the monies that fund the association and the programs that we do throughout the country. I also have a lot of working experience and relationships with the large allied associations, being very fortunate in where I've worked, but having a relationship with USGA officials, and the Golf Course Superintendents Association, and the LPGA, and the European Ryder Cup. We need to come together and work with other allied associations if we're going to solve some of the bigger issues that are facing the industry. I think my background working with allied associations, working on the national level on the board and committees, and having that hands-on experience, enhancing and growing our largest assets, I think this experience we'll be able to take to the national office that can truly help PGA members throughout the country.
10 seconds,
Thank you.
Jim. Thank you, Jim. Russ?
Thank you. Well, 34 years ago, I started my career in this business, 15 years old, working at a small 9-hole facility in southern Maine, and my job was to hand mow the rough. Not too glamorous, but you know what? I love golf, I love the game, and I love the business. And I have worked in this business every year since, and I'm proud of that. I've worked at a variety of different facilities, nearly every facility type, public, daily fee, private. I've worked for corporations, and now, of course, Tracy and I own and manage Hidden Hills Country Club, a small club in Jacksonville, Florida. I think that perspective allows me to understand what's going on out there in the field, and I think that is vital for your next secretary to be successful, is to understand what our 24,000 PGA members are doing out there. Additionally, 20 years now, 20 years consecutively, I've been involved with PGA leadership. It started back in 1997 when I was on the tournament committee and section for the chapter and section in North Florida. I was elected to every chair in the chapter. I was elected to every chair in the section. I've served on national committees, and I was appointed by Brian Whitcomb back in 2007 to the PGA Board of Control. I highlight this because I believe this perspective is very, very important. You want your next secretary to have a vast array of experience on every level.
Thank you, Russ. And Rick.
Thanks, Paul. I love our association to begin with, and I have been a PGA member for some 35 years. I've served on the section level, 10 years as an officer in our section, Carolina's section, I've served some 28 years on the Carolina Section Board of Directors over those 35 years. I think I have a great background and a thorough understanding of what is our largest section with some 2,100 members and apprentices. I think I understand our sections very well. I've served over 14 years on national committees, 2 of which include Youth Player Development and the Teaching and Coaching Committee. I'm part of planning our 2017 Teaching and Coaching Summit, which is going to include some business development. I had an idea back in 2010 of how can we create more business and enthusiasm for our PGA members to grow youth and family golf. And as you may know, in 2014, we had our first PGA Youth and Family Summit, followed up in 2016 with the second summit, which will become a fixture in the PGA, delivering education and business development and what our members need today. I also want to share one piece with you about our leadership organizational chart at PGA headquarters. When you look at it and critically and look at it to develop some understanding of it, you will see, quite frankly, that, and justifiably so, approximately 70% of our employment and our directors and of our association at PGA headquarters are well entrenched in our championships and our huge revenue engine, which are our championships and our partners, rightfully so. And we're very good with that. And we have great directors, and with Pete Bavacqua at the helm, he's quite frankly brought what no other person could have brought to our association as far as revenues through TV contracts and funneling through to the section with ADP funding. So I want to work on the member side of that organizational chart. It's what our members need, it's what our members deserve, and that's where I'm grounded.
Thank you, Rick. Closing comments. We're going to ask for each of you to, you'll have 3 minutes, and we'll give you a 30-second, Tom will give them a 30-second call, 2.5 minutes in, to share whatever you'd like to share. And I think we'll start with you, Russ.
Well, thank you. Listen, I want to thank all of you very much for being here and taking an active interest in this important process, excuse me. I've had a delightful time here. I was over at Cascada yesterday and got a chance to walk around and meet some people and had a putting contest with Don Ray, and he edged me by 2, so thanks for that, Don. But it's been great, and I've enjoyed this. This whole process is inspiring. It's energizing, and I thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about myself. You know, during this process, I've asked myself, what are you looking for? What are our leaders, what are our PGA professionals looking for in a leader? And it brings to mind a great quote by Stephen Covey: an effective leader is one that communicates the worth and the value in other people so clearly and strongly that they believe it themselves, and they find their voice. And I really think that's part and parcel to being a great leader for the PGA of America. And I intend to do that for you as your next secretary. You want somebody you can trust. You want a forward thinker. You want a team player. You want somebody that's had success. I'm proud to share my success stories. At my club at Hidden Hills, Tracy and I purchased the club back in 2003. It had gone bankrupt twice. We were encouraged maybe not to look at that, but we knew, we believed in ourselves, we believed we had the ability to put forth the best model. And 14 years later, we have a success story. I'm proud of what I've done in the chapter, creating a brand new tournament program in 2000. It's still in existence today, 16 years later. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the structure that we put for the North Florida section, put it on the proper footing for the future success that we're enjoying today. I've had great success, I've been fortunate, and I think that's also a very important trait that you have in your next leader. Maybe the most important trait, though, is somebody that represents you. I told you about my background. I think I am the best equipped to represent our PGA members across the country based on my experience and my background. I'm ready to lead, and I can promise you that I will carry your voice into the boardroom. That empty chair that we hear about in that boardroom is very compelling. The decisions that we make in there have to impact positively each and every one of the members of our association.
30 seconds, Russ.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, I am a grassroots guy. I am a successful businessman. I am that person in that chair. And I will represent you well, and I will carry your voice to the highest level. And together, we will enact positive change for this association and the game. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russ. Rick?
Thanks, Paul. I am running for the office of Secretary for one reason, and one reason only. It's based upon what I've learned over the past 35 years, and the reason I'm running is you. What you've been asking for, what we need as PGA members around the country. We must create more value and worth to our employers. Our PGA members need substantial education in this area. So I can tell you that together with you, some of the points that I want to accomplish with you are improving employment opportunities. How are we going to do that? How are we going to move forward with that when we're faced with the challenges that we have in our market and economy today? I think with the addition of employment consultants, taking their training to a higher level, interacting with our owners and our PGA members, showing our employers the value that a PGA member can bring, are important. Driving participation upwards in the game. How do we do that? We've seen substantial growth of over 400,000 kids. What are those statistics? Where's that data coming from? Where's that research coming from? I'm not sure we know. I know we don't know what the customers want and need, and we better wake up and learn and find out what they want. I know that the thing that I'm well equipped to do is to help deliver benefits to our sections. I would like to see us take all 41 sections, evaluate those. We have ADP funding, but I'm talking about in addition to ADP funding. Every section is dramatically different from the other. When you look at the Rocky Mountain section with one PGA member per 1,750 square miles. When you look at the Metropolitan section with one PGA member every 7 square miles. That's important in how we deliver education and our employment services, how those are administered. So we have 41 dramatically different sections. I want to see us drive a package unique to each section in addition to ADP funding that will help our sections become more successful. Where are you having the challenges? What opportunities do you have? How can we help you? And that has to come from the PGA member.
30 seconds.
That goes back to our organizational chart that I spoke about earlier. The mindset. The mindset should be, in every decision we make, have our PGA members and sections had input into this decision? And secondary, is this a directive created or driven by our sections and PGA members, or was it driven by PGA headquarters? I'm here for you. I have the experience, the willingness. It's 8-year commitment of someone's life. I'm serious about our association. I love our association. And together with others in our industry, the other stakeholders, we can turn this around into a successful pathway for our PGA members. Thank you,
Rick. Jim, batting cleanup.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Tom Brawley and the PGA staff for all the work that they did for this event, obviously here in Vegas, but for these candidate forums. Thank you, Tom. I know there's a lot of details that go into that. Vice President Levy, thank you for being here and moderating and all that you've done for the PGA of America. Appreciate it. I'd really like to thank Greg Light, the president of the Southwest section and the Southwest section members, for hosting the Pro and the demo day yesterday. If you had a chance to make it out, Cascada is a fantastic facility. They sold out the event with 62-person teams, and I think the demo day was the busiest it's been since it's been in Vegas. So thank you for all the work, the members of the Southwest section. Now, I agree 100% that national officer needs to represent all of the PGA members. If you're not aware of my history, I've had the opportunity to work in 9 different sections throughout my career, starting as an entry-level assistant, picking the range, washing carts, sweeping out the parking lot. Now, I've actually worked here on the West Coast. I was a young assistant in the Southwest section back in 1990 and 91. I worked in the Aloha section as well as Northern California. I've had an opportunity to work in the Northeast, in the Southeast, now back home in the Midwest in Wisconsin. I think this gives me a really unique perspective on what PGA members and apprentices deal with throughout the country. Those from very small sections, those from large sections, those on the West Coast that have a little bit of a challenge. We really don't support PGA members on the West Coast like we do on the East Coast, just purely because of where headquarters is located. If you have an issue, if you're a West Coast section, it's 2, 3 o'clock on a Friday, you have to wait until Monday to get that answer. I lived those frustrations as a young assistant, a first-time head golf professional, when I was struggling and I needed assistance and help. I know what PGA members have to deal with around the country. The reason I'm running for national office is to try to help serve our members and try to help grow the game. We talk about that a lot as an association. But when I talk to PGA members that we employ, those in our section throughout the country, times are tough. Times are really tough right now. The game's been stagnant over the last few years. We've had more golf courses closing than opening over the last 6 years. We're going to have other struggles in the future. Not only do we need individuals at the chapter, section, and national level that know what PGA members deal with on a daily basis, that have been through some of those challenges and are willing to roll up their sleeves. I think we need individuals that have backgrounds and experience not only in the game of golf, but in the business of golf. As this business gets back on the right track and continues to grow, we need those individuals that are committed at every level. I am that individual that's committed to try to help serve PGA members and help grow the game. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, whoever gets elected, our leadership and the next officer, we will be well served by any three of you. So please join me in a round of applause for the candidates.